Okay, let's find out what are some of the impacts and results and findings from the USDA report. Today, we're joined right now by Susan Stroud. She is the founder and CEO of NoBullAg, based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, Susan, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, well, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Okay, we had the USDA report out this morning. I guess what stuck out the most to you?
Well, for starters, I think the today the market's main focus has really been on continued rumors of the RVO potentially coming out, so mandated volume requirements for
Yep.
the renewable standard for 26 and 27. So we've been waiting on this for months, and this is kind of what's taken front and center today because it's been a roller coaster already. But to get back to your original question, somewhat of a ho-hum report. I mean, June normally we don't see really many changes, and that was definitely true today. The market was expecting an increase in corn exports for old crop for the U.S., and we did get that today. We got a 50 million bushel bump. And so that reduced old crop ending stocks by 50 to 1.365 billion, which was within the realm of expectations, hence why the corn market's really not doing much of anything. And really, that was the only change that reduction in old crop ending stocks flowed into new crop beginning stocks. And so it reduced new crop ending stocks by the same. And then we didn't see any domestic changes here for the US as far as beans go. Um, Old crop beans, though, today market's quite a bit weaker. We're down 9 right now. I would say a lot of that is a few different things going on. And so, market trying to decide how big of an inverse do we really need going from July beans into new crop. I think some of the other concerns is we saw a very large processing company here in the US dramatically lower their old crop bean bids within the past couple days at some of their largest crushing facilities. And that has the rest of the market kind of on edge as far as old crop bean demand goes. But then again, back to bean oil, kind of it's taking the focus today. So we've been anywhere from higher to substantially lower. As first, we had word this morning that we would officially see the RVO by end of the week. And then midday today, there's a report that it might be a disappointing number. And so the market's backed off again some. But soybean oil is a market that always has a substantial amount of it's driven by rumors and what I would call misinformation or misunderstanding a lot of the time. And that's just because nearly 50% of its demand here domestically goes into biofuels, and it's all very policy driven.
Yeah, and the industry looking for 5.25, correct? And we've heard numerous, I guess, comments out of people in the administration that the industry be pleasantly surprised. But the rumors floating around today are that you should take the under.
Yeah, I think in this case, a lot of people are missing the forest for the trees. One, it's an increase. Two, we also have um, proposed changes to 45Z right now in process with the big, beautiful budget reconciliation bill that's sitting in the Senate at the moment. There's some substantial changes in there that would be, that would limit what feedstocks would qualify for tax credits. It would include any North American sourced feedstocks, so it is good for canola oil. And that's probably some of the reason we've also seen some strength in the canola market in combination with other things. But yeah, there are a lot of moving parts here, and I think the devil is definitely in the details, and that's something that we'll find out more tomorrow.
Yeah, so I guess now that we look ahead to that June 30th acreage report, is that kind of where all eyes move, or is there more happening in the short term? I guess over and above what we're talking about here with these RVOs.
What's not happening? What's
Well,
not happening?
okay, good question. That's fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, well, and yesterday we had kind of official word from Donald Trump, and then wires were reporting the additional details that came out, or the results of the discussions between U.S. and China in London earlier this week. A deal was made, but no mention of ag goods whatsoever, and so the market, I mean, the market's been, I don't want to say oblivious, but the market's just kind of, I don't know what we're trading tariff wise at the moment because we have so many other things that are kind of taking front and center. And we also have benign weather. We don't have anything, we have yet to see anything threatening. And as time ticks along here, the path of least resistance is lower, especially when you have kind of garden-like growing conditions. Back to your original question, the focus on acres. I mean, we've had a lot of time to sit here and kind of and try to figure out what happens. Did we pick up more corn? Did we, what happens with beans? A lot of times as we get into March, we get the first print, and then generally one commodity or the other kind of takes the lead, and it seems like it kind of works its way to potentially buy back some more acres. We didn't really see that this year at all. I think the bigger point is that we did see continued pockets of extreme wetness in some areas of the east that maybe prevented some corn acres from going on the ground, but at the same time we saw plenty of wide windows, planting opportunities in the West that we potentially picked up a few more acres. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Yesterday
I,
we were, well, on that, you said garden-like conditions and crop off to a really good start. I've heard that from a number of ag retails in some of the major corn and soybean region of the U.S. But, yesterday we were talking to Matt Makins from Makins Weather out of Colorado, and one of the areas that he's concerned about going forward weather-wise is actually Iowa being a little bit drier than we would like to see. I guess that provides some opportunity maybe for a bit of a weather trade here, but we'll have to see.
yeah, the calendar says that we have like a week left or something before we seasonally see new crop corn start to go down the path or hit the point of no return. I'm not saying that has to be the case this year, but you also have to think seasonally we have, and you know what? I didn't even look at the numbers. Okay, it looks like USDA didn't increase Brazil's corn production again. We're still at a 130, which I mean, I think we all know at this point the crop's in the bag. Like
Yeah.
it's good to go. So this is one thing that I think people forget that this is a headwind for US corn once we get into the summer months. So we have this chance that, okay, we have a weather scare or rally here about the crop growing in the field, but then at the same time, we have a really big Brazilian crop that's hitting the market and it's changing. We're starting to see the world buyer turn its attention to Brazil, and rightfully so. This is the time of year that typically happens.
Yeah.
And I
Go
mentioned
ahead.
Argentina. I should mention Argentina as well. Argentina has the cheapest corn and the cheapest beans in the world at the moment, so we can't forget them.
Yeah, and how about how would you, I guess, evaluate or rate U.S. exports trying to be competitive against some of those cheaper products coming out of South America?
I mean, we've hung in there pretty good. It's no different than like today, for instance, with weekly export sales. We actually hit the point that put us even with USDA's like 100% sold with USDA's last number that they had for full year exports in May. And so today we saw that 50 million bushel uptick. We're actually still on a pace to maybe be about 100 million bushels ahead of even that estimate that was revised higher today. The challenge going forward is where do we see U.S. prices as far as competitiveness goes for new crop? It kind of depends on how cheap does Brazilian corn stay and how many bushels are they able to ship to fill the world's needs while the U.S. turns its program's attention back to beans in the fall.
Yeah, just I want to turn to wheat really quick. We got global wheat ending stocks under expectations. Is the wheat market ignoring some of the tighter fundamentals, or is there other macro factors at work here, like what's going on with Russia's crop, global demand, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, you also have to think about how corn and wheat are tied together too. And so if the corn market is kind of on this path lower, then that definitely doesn't provide any help for wheat and vice versa. I think here domestically in the US, we're going to have to start to question quality a little bit, especially as we talk about these garden-like conditions. Well, everyone wants rain on their their growing corn acres and bean acres, but the last thing you want are continued rains on your wheat acres, especially as that crop is getting ready to be harvested.
It's sort of similar to August, where we want August rain for our soybeans to boost that yield, but don't want too much on that corn at the wrong time when it comes to some of the dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to leave us with when it comes to today's report?
Um, I, I don't know. I feel like I've been behind all day, but it was really because it was the biofuel policy rumors started up again this morning, and that's really taken front and center. I
So how
don't
does
know.
the corn market react to it, whatever the actual number is? What's the trade? Like what do we look out for in terms of market direction based on whatever that number is?
Bean oil is the most sensitive, and so corn never has a reaction whatsoever to anything that would be renewable fuel standard related. And it goes back to the structure of the renewable fuel standard and how RINs are structured. Soybean oil by default is much more sensitive to anything that is policy related. And again, this is a lot of this. It's just the bean market in general is super sensitive because we're seeing, we saw such tremendous crushing capacity expansion, and we're still in the middle of that. We're about halfway through the total build out that we should see that should end by about 2027. But we're really sensitive because those increases in margins, all of that came from the increase in the value of soybean oil. And so it leaves the complex very susceptible to any changes in policy that potentially impact that biofuel demand. Now, like today, we didn't see any changes on soybean oil ending stocks for the US for old crop, but that's because we're simply moving demand from one pocket to the other. And so we took biofuel demand down a notch today, and we moved that same amount of demand over to an increase in exports. At the end of the day, we're still in a situation where I don't think there's any way that we will see USDA's current print on soybean oil demand for this marketing year actually come to fruition. The number is still too high. But I think going forward, it's going to be very important to keep watching that, especially as we see hopefully tomorrow the RVO for 26 and 27 finally released, and then the market will have the ability to adjust and kind of get a better grip on things going forward. With the wild card still being changes to 45Z that potentially affect not only the carbon intensity score of virgin vegetable oils, so canola oil and
Yep.
soybean oil, huge changes there that affect the tax credit that both of them would be able to receive under that program. And also, another big piece of it is potentially limiting the feedstocks that would qualify for tax credits or for the production of those fuels, limiting those to North American origin only. That's a really big deal, especially as we see tallow imports, for instance, continue to be at near record levels.
And that obviously that UCO as well. Hey, Susan, you do great work. How if somebody wants to find out more about some of your offerings, you put out a great newsletter. How do they find you?
NoBullAg.com. Or
Great,
you can find me on X at Susan Noble.
great stuff. That is Susan Stroud, Noble Ag out of Missouri. Susan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.